Ethan asked me a couple of weeks ago to speak for the community moment. The instructions I received were to talk about Lake Ridge Academy, which I'll refer to as LRA, starting in the basement of the old LaPorte church building, and about my experience here as a youth. Since I taught and coached at LRA for 13 years, and Alan just ended his 6th year of teaching at LRA to begin a new role as the athletic director for the school, and the place where we met, it was fitting for me to discuss the church's involvement in LRA's start. Thankfully, I was able to get my hands on 2 books that were written to share the history of this school, which I have here if anybody wants to take a look at them. LaPorte is mentioned in there. And I was also able to chat with an alumni of the first graduating class. In 1961, 2 men, Charles Small and Herbert Cates, began creating Lake Ridge and needed a place to house the school temporarily. They first had their eyes set on the First Assembly of God Church on North Abbey, but it became unavailable. Even when trying to renegotiate, a member of the congregation said that God had spoken to him and said not to hold a school there. Their next option was the Knights of Columbus building, but that was eventually voted down. Less than 2 months before the opening day for the school, board member Robert S. Vandervert had made an agreement with Dr. Robert Lyons and his trustees of LaPorte Methodist Church to host the school. I guess God never spoke to anyone from our congregation about not hosting a school, but I think it speaks volumes to the openness of the church to help others. The Cleveland Press, July 23rd edition read, "Lake Ridge Academy will be housed temporarily for the 1963-64 school year in the new educational wing of LaPorte Methodist Church. Kindergarten classes will be held in the church's old sanctuary, the 1st through 3rd grade in the new fellowship hall, and 4th through 6th grades in the former classrooms on the 2nd floor of the old church." In September of 1963, there was even an article published in the national level in the Wall Street Journal about the school starting at a Methodist church. In the first year, there were 45 students enrolled, and in the second year, there were 98. I spoke with one of the founder's sons, Don Cates. He was also the person who wrote the first book. He was the only 6th grader to attend the first year of LRA at LaPorte and considered the first graduate of the school. He has fond memories of his 2 years at LaPorte. He said everyone was very kind and that he remembers attending chapel at the church and crossing the street to play soccer in a field near the river. He only remembers the minister, Dr. Lyon, by name, but he remembers many of the ladies of the church being involved in the Mothers Association, which is now called Parents Association, and that they served them hot meals of hot dogs once a week, which he remembers being really terrible. Even though in the book it says something about superb meals. He said his dad had built, He said his dad had built partitions, which they set up every Monday morning, and they had to build these to hang things on since the rules were really strict about not putting nails in the walls, and they would tear them down every Friday. He also remembers having responsibilities such as wiping counters and throwing away trash to help the church. He said he learned that the church was charging a very fair price to host the school, which allowed them to then buy land and build their own school within just 2 short years. He said the church was thriving at that time. Now, to speak very briefly about my time here as a youth at LaPorte. I have very early memories of my mom working friendship dinners and having my friend Molly and I sing and perform for the ladies of the church, and helping my dad and mom, who ran the free meal program here for 11 years, set up and tear down for the lunches and dinners, although if I'm being perfectly honest, it was more Hillary helping and me getting in the way. My parents also picked up expiring baked goods at Giant Eagle and delivered them to low-income housing, as well as to the people at the free meal programs. We handed out bread and cookies to everyone who needed it, and kept some cookies for ourselves from time to time. My parents taught Bible school at LaPorte for many years, and I remember helping set up and participating in crafts and songs. There were so many kids at the church at that time. I have very fond memories of Bible school and inviting all my friends and neighbors. I also have fond memories of Angel Choir and all the church plays. Angel Choir was run by Jeannie Oblinger and Rita Westervelt, I think. Most of the plays were put on by Debbie Wilson or Jeff and Ruth Bates. I was always a shy kid, but I felt more comfortable coming out of my shell at church. Sunday school will also hold a special place in my heart, as I remember my older years with my dad as a Sunday school teacher. One particular Sunday, I was a little embarrassed because he was talking about sperm. He told us that out of millions to billions of sperm, that there was only one of us. As a math nerd, the significance of 1 in billions did resonate with me, and my dad had a way of making us feel valued. I also remember the lessons taught by Jim Ribstedt when he taught us, one particular lesson when he taught us the acronym ACTS when we needed help praying, which stood for Ask, Confess, Thanksgiving, and someone else. But if you do a Google search, it's a little different, so maybe I'm remembering it wrong after all these years. But during some of my teen years, as many of my friends stopped coming to church, I felt a little bit out of place. But when I was 16 and I lost my grandma, it was the church that was there for my family and sent food, prayers, and cards. Then 10 years later, after losing my dad, the same thing. And then 10 years later, adopting Kaden, the same thing. Sorry. The church has always been there to open their doors and hearts to the whole school community, or to a whole school community, and many other individuals like myself over the past 200 years. I didn't coordinate with Rachel, but I wanted to leave you with a quote I found thought-provoking from the original headmaster, which is there from Lake Ridge Academy. "A child is not gifted until he has done something with his gifts." Just a little food for thought. Thank you.